Hi. Let me see if I can put it down. I guess it doesn't go down much. Okay, good. That's fine. That's fine. Hello. Hello. All right, good. Hey, Google, turn on the treadmill. All right, here we are. Going, walking. Let's see if I. All right, here we go. Pay attention. All right, so welcome aboard the evening walk. What did I say? It was dealing with aridity, and that we can't really call it a drought. That was something that Hoover said. Can't call it a drought. It's aridity, that we're having arid conditions from climate change, and that's not going to change. It's not like it's a one-off type of thing. We're having arid conditions, and we were watching. Cougar found this morning a video about the Rio Grande, which actually is where his mother grew up in Uvalde, Texas, and West Texas, and she would talk about the Rio Grande, and they would go there or something. Anyway, but so and so it was about, and the Rio Grande is going arid too. It's definitely losing, doesn't have any water, and a lot of people are going to be having trouble from that. And it's the Rio Grande is also felt. The Rio Grande River is also fed by the Rocky Mountains. That's the source of its water, and it starts in Colorado, goes through New Mexico, Texas, and Mexico, and then the Colorado River is also having trouble, which we talked about with the Hoover Dam and its lake. What is it? Lake Mead, and then the Glen Canyon Dam with Lake Powell. And so they're going very dry too. And it's just been a very dry winter. And so, it's like, then sometimes, people are in denial about climate change. It's like, the ice is melting. All right, well, nobody talks about the ice, and we don't care about ice. We don't live in Alaska or in those areas. So, but many of us live in this Colorado River. What do they call it? The 7 states, and that are fed by the Colorado. There's a name for it. Anyway, the whole river area, and are use the Colorado River watershed. I guess it's called the Colorado watershed, and so there's the upper Colorado and the lower Colorado, and it feeds 7 states, and it's electricity. It creates hydropower, and it also has water. And for Southern California, and so this is going to be a big deal. And then we're going into a real heat mode. Well, with our what is it? Our ocean, a marine heat wave, and then on top of that, the El Nino, which is going to bring it really high. And what Cougar says is that it's not going to go back down, the heat that we're going to be experiencing. And that's what the charts have shown, that over the years, whenever we've had an El Nino, then it just keeps going up and up. And so, so we're going to be going really into a big heat wave. And we were listening also. I didn't pay attention to this one, but Cougar was watching about India and how they're having lots of heat. And we know that. So I guess they're having lots of heat right now. Hey, Google, what has been the temperature in India, the high temperatures that they've been experiencing right now?
India is currently experiencing severe heat waves, with many regions seeing temperatures surpass 104 degrees Fahrenheit, and some pockets reaching as high as 113 degrees Fahrenheit to 117 degrees Fahrenheit.
Hey Google, what parts of India are reaching 113 degrees Fahrenheit or 117 degrees Fahrenheit? Is that the northern parts of India or southern? Which states or cities?
Temperatures reaching between 113 degrees Fahrenheit and 117 degrees Fahrenheit, 45 degrees Celsius to 47 degrees Celsius, have been concentrated in pockets of northern and central India, specifically the Vidarbha region in Maharashtra.
Hey Google, what cities have been hit hard? Is that uh, what is that? Which cities have been hit the hardest with the heat wave in India? Hey Google, which cities have been hit the hardest with the heat wave in India?
Many cities across India's northern and central regions are currently experiencing extreme heat.
Extreme heat.
Recent reports highlight Banda, Fatehpur, Etawah, Bindki, Auraiya, Moradabad, Kripalutam, Mangaur, Prayagraj, and Gohad as some of the hardest hit locations, frequently recording temperatures around 115 degrees Fahrenheit. Other major cities like Delhi, Lucknow, Nagpur, and Akola are also facing severe conditions as the heat wave spreads across multiple states.
Delhi. Hey Google, how many people live in Delhi?
Estimates for the population of Delhi vary depending on whether the figure accounts for the city proper or the entire metropolitan area. For 2026, projections for Delhi's urban agglomeration generally range from about 22.7 million to over 35 million.
Oh, could be 22 to 35 million in the greater Delhi area. So, hey Google, what has been the temperature in Delhi during this heat wave? Hey Google, what has been the temperature in Delhi during this heat wave?
In Delhi, temperatures have been very high recently, reaching highs of around 106 degrees Fahrenheit, 41 degrees Celsius. However, recent rain has brought some temporary relief.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, there's lots of heat going on in India. And, yep. And so, yeah, so that was that. But what was I saying about that? I don't know. Anyway, so that was the arid issues, the heat. I don't know what I was saying about that. Anyway, but I was saying about the Rio Grande and the other lakes and the arid temperatures. So we're having heat waves. And that's what I was saying is that, we talk about, well, the ice is melting and things like that. When people don't relate that much to that, because we don't have ice in San Jose and we're not affected by it, even though people go up to Tahoe and the problems with the ski resorts and things like that. But this is really affecting us is the arid, the aridity that's happening in the Southwest. And I say it's also human hubris, and hubris meaning to, how did I say? There was a definition I got was really good. Is just full of yourself with just having too much confidence in your actions, and with oftentimes destructive consequences happening. And so we built these dams and thinking that we could bring the water to the Southwest, which was a desert, and Las Vegas was a desert and is a desert, and the Southern California is a desert, and all this Southwest, and then building these big infrastructures to bring water to these areas and make a lot of money and grow a lot of food and grow a lot of homes and create a lot of communities and make a lot of money, of course, and habitat, so it was like, and now it's falling apart because of our climate crisis from burning our fossil fuels. And and even being able to build that type of infrastructure would only have been possible with fossil fuels, the large dams that we built and the big hydropower cement structures and all the things. Even cement, they say, if cement was a country, it would be um, like the third largest user of or third largest producer after China, United States, and then there's cement. So making these dams, there's a lot of cement, I'm sure. Anyway, making our cities and all the things that we use cement. Anyway, so that was that human hubris. Um, what was it else? I was listening to Truth Wizard on YouTube. He's a very funny guy, and I really like him. He does say a lot of really good things because he always talks about our climate crisis, and even though he's got his little funny things that he talks about too, but he always comes back to how we're screwed and messed up, and how we're gonna, how we're, doesn't have faith that we'll be around too long as a species. And even I was listening to Astrum. That's another YouTube channel, and they had him on. His channel is called Astrum something, and they had him on. The guy who does it with his voice. Usually don't see him as he's talking, but he came on. He goes, "This is the most important video that you've seen." And so he was talking about David Suzuki, the environmentalist, and how he was saying in 2025, David Suzuki's the environmentalist from Canada, and he's in his 90s, and he's Japanese, and he's been dealing with climate change and environmental issues, and he's saying that we've lost the fight on climate change. So okay, so we've lost that fight, yeah. And okay, so then the other bad news was that Cougar came on, and he was talking on the channel saying he's not going to do any more videos because he's working on his book, and hopefully also working on our house projects. And he says he doesn't want to do any more videos. And he said to me, he goes, "I've said everything I can say." And that's true, And he always says, it's like, keep fossil fuels in the ground. Nobody talks about that. Nobody says that. And that's what we have to do, is keep fossil fuels in the ground. And we have to take the hit, we have to take the hit, and nobody wants to do that. And even like when we say, oh, Donald Trump is so bad and so bad, and, but it's like, we wanted him, most of us voted for him because we want to believe it's a hoax, and we want to believe that we don't have to do anything, and everything's fine, and just like he tells us, and that's what we want to hear. And Cougar would also say same thing with Germany in terms of Hitler. It's like you could say he was so bad, but those people wanted to hear what he was saying, and the German people, that Germany was great or whatever else he was telling them. And so mostly just thinking about Donald Trump is that he's telling the Americans what they want to hear, and we voted for him, and so that's what we want to hear, is that everything's fine, and it's a hoax. So anyway, that's, I don't know what I was saying about that. Oh, well, then Cougar says that he's not going to do any more YouTube channels for now because he's working on his book, and his book is a great book, and it's called Ariadne. It's a novel. He's writing a story. It's really good. And he's Ariadne, the rise of AI and the fall of mankind. So that is really very insightful. And so we'll see what that's about. And look forward to reading it. And hopefully he's going to, now that our basement's almost finished, he's going to record our his first book, so that would be cool, and then we can listen to it while we're doing other things. So I don't really sit down and read a book, but I like listening to things on tape, so that would be good. And you guys could buy it, so that would be great. Anyway, and let's see what else. So and we went to the farmers market today, rode our bikes, and bought some food. And the guy who's the head of the Well, he works for the city of Campbell, and we've really kind of told him so many times that we really want them to put heavier barriers on the streets of Campbell. They shut the street down, which is very nice. Campbell Avenue, they shut it down, but they just have these little, you know, barricades, these little wood horses, that just say, not open, road not open, whatever. And when we've seen so many people have trouble with that, where cars run through and kill people. And so we've asked the city of Campbell, and this guy, I don't know his name, I think his name is John. Anyway, he works for the city of Campbell, and he moves those at the end of the event. He moves those barriers so the trucks can come in, and they say that it's easier to move the barriers. But like, where was I seeing these heavy barriers? The city of San Jose had them over by the SAP Center on Barack Obama Boulevard. They had some, and they had that. They shut off the road, and they put those, and they're big, heavy metal things, and that's what I wanted. And so I even called the city of Campbell and tried to get them to do it. And when they have this Oktoberfest, and on that event they do put in the metal barriers, so they have them, but they don't want to put them in for the farmers market because it's too much work for when the trucks have to come in and out. But so I just have to wait for another one of those events to get motivated to call them again. But I have called the city of Campbell, and I've talked to that guy too. But anyway, today he was nice. He said that he's got a friend who actually talked to me, and she's buying an electric trike like I have. And he said he was going to buy an electric trike too. But I said, well, and hopefully sell your car. He wasn't so sure about that, but I told him that would be great. Anyway, and so that was that. What was else? So, we learn from each other. We copy each other, so that's good. And let's see what else. Well, anything else I was thinking about? Well, one thing was something about longevity, and they were saying the most important thing with longevity, as I'm facing 68, the last half of our lives, and was relationships, and having relationships to look forward to, something like that. Thought that was neat. Relationships are what keep us wanting to keep living. And I thought that was cool. And I really do enjoy talking to my son every day. And at the end of the conversation, he goes, "Okay, Mom, talk to you tomorrow." No, makes me so happy. Anyway, and I even talked to my daughter. So she texted me, and that felt good too. And she's moving. Her and her boyfriend. They're not boyfriend and girlfriend now. They're domestic partners. And I guess yeah. So her domestic partner, Anthony, is looking at a job, and it's another contract job. And Sophia was working contract too with Apple. I think they're both looking at Apple jobs. But anyway, and they don't get insurance, and so I was listening to an interview with Jenk. I guess that guy Jenk is, what is it? It's a TYT. It's something to do with they're from another part of the country, another part of the world. Anyway, I think his name is Jenk. Anyway, he was interviewing Tom Steyer, and Tom Steyer was saying that we need what is it called? Single payer. That the state of California would go single payer. Well, that would be great, because it's going to cost a lot of money for my daughter and her domestic partner to have insurance if they're just contract workers. Now, sometimes you make more money when you're a contract worker. She was, at least, but still, insurance can be very expensive. And now that Trump has taken away a lot of um, the Obamacare that we had, and that is, I guess, is fallen through, and so that was a lot more expensive. But so single payer is supposed to be better, even though my son, who works with healthcare, says that they won't be reimbursed as much. I don't know if that's true. So, yeah, right. Well, everything's falling apart. I mean, we'll see, what's going to happen. I know, because what was it? It was the whole thing with the Sprint Airlines, that couldn't make it anymore. But we were very happy about that, Cougar and I. It was like, okay, one airline down, and whatever, 20 more to go. And it was too expensive, the fuel from the Iran war. And they just quit. Good for them. And we have to stop flying. So that's what I say. Oh, what happened? Oh, I don't know what it did. Right. Yeah, it's too expensive to fly. Right, and hopefully people stop driving too. Too expensive to drive. And I, very happy to see what was it? 650. I've seen 650 for gas in San Jose, and definitely $7 or so for diesel. And yeah. And then they said, that Trump says that he's going to escort the ships in the state of the Strait of Hormuz. And I was asking Google about that, and they say, it's not going to work out. Well, that's what they said. And that, first of all, it's very narrow. I guess it's like 3 meters or something. It wasn't. Hey Google, how far is the Strait of how wide is that Strait of Hormuz between Oman and Iran? It's like 3 meters or something.
The Strait of Hormuz is approximately 24 to 38 miles wide at its narrowest point between Oman and Iran.
28 miles. But they say that it's too narrow for 2 ships to go through. And 28. Hey, Google, repeat. What was that, 28 miles?
The Strait of Hormuz is approximately 24 to 38 miles wide at its narrowest point between Oman and Iran.
Miles. Okay, but they said it was too narrow for 2 boats, these 2 ships to go through. They're very wide, whatever. And that was one issue. And then there's the issue of the bombs that are in the mines. And then they're too close to the shore where they can be attacked. And Iran said that in their agreement that they didn't want any the U.S. Navy in there, so there's gonna be problems. And again, I hate to say it, but it was like, that's what Cougar and I were saying. It was something to do with maybe it was the fall of the Sprint Airlines or Spirit Airlines. Is that and it's supposed to be a cheap airline, and that the MAGA people will be very upset with Trump over the cost of everything, food and airlines and everything like that. But, we were saying that he's putting an end to industrialized civilization. So, and that's a good thing. So and the same thing with this whole thing with Iran is putting an end to industrialized civilization. So, I don't want to say I'm happy that it's happening, because people are losing their lives in different things, I think, or they have. But it's like, it's just just pulling the rug out from this whole, or lifting the curtain of this whole oil kind of country that the whole oil industry, and how messed up it is. So we have to stop using it, and then we have to stop using the what is it, this nitrous oxide that is caused from the fertilizers that come from the natural gas from Oman or something. Hey Google, where is the natural gas that is making fertilizers made?
natural gas used for fertilizer isn't made. It's a fossil fuel extracted from underground deposits around the world. Major producers include the United States, Russia, China, and various countries in the Middle East, which then supply it to nitrogen fertilizer factories globally.
Hey Google, which is the big country, the biggest provider in the Middle East of the natural gas fertilizer?
Iran holds some of the world's largest natural gas reserves and is a leading producer and exporter in the region for fertilizer feedstocks.
Okay, Iran. But there was another. Hey Google, what's another country in the Middle East that produces the feedstock for the fertilizer? That's a big one.
In addition to Iran, Qatar is a major producer and
Qatar.
exporter of natural gas and fertilizer components like ammonia and urea in the region.
Right, Qatar and Iran. So yeah, and then there is some history about that too. Is that the island off of India, which is called, what is it called? Sri Lanka? Yeah, I think it's Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka tried, when we were trying to stop burning fossil fuels, cut off the fertilizer from Sri Lanka, stopped buying fertilizer. And then there was a big revolt because their food stocks had gone down so much from not having the natural gas fertilizer that causes that nitrous oxide that causes more greenhouse gases. So, but anyway, people don't care about it because they were starving, and the food production or whatever, I don't know if they were starving, but there was a whole lot less food. Hey, Google, tell us the story of what happened when Sri Lanka stopped importing natural gas for fertilizer and the revolt against that.
In 2021, the Sri Lankan government abruptly banned the import of chemical fertilizers and pesticides to force a shift to organic farming and save foreign currency. This decision was made without planning or support for farmers, causing rice yields to drop by over 30% and tea production to collapse by 18%. As food prices soared and agricultural output plummeted, the policy triggered widespread social unrest and a severe national economic crisis. The situation culminated in the 2022 Aragalaya, or People's Uprising, which led to the collapse of the government and the resignation of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. The crisis highlighted how sudden shifts away from necessary agricultural inputs can undermine food security and national stability, especially when implemented without technical preparation.
Right, so that's what happened, and the story goes is like they ran the president out. He had to run away and get on a plane and leave, and it was interesting. But anyway, that was it. And then somebody was even saying that agriculture is the foundation of civilization. So that's something to think about. Agriculture is the foundation of civilization. So yeah, right. And when we settled down, we were no longer hunters and gatherers, is how we developed civilization. There on the banks of the Euphrates and the Nile River, I think, in the Mesopotamia, where culture started, and as we settled down as a species and became agrarian, and that's how we started developing culture. That we didn't have the kind of cultures we've developed, democracy, all the things, when we were hunter-gatherers. But anyway, that's what they're saying. So that's what happened when they they went organic gardening. Right. And so then they went back, and, so that's where, they're saying planning for it. We have to plan better for it. I guess that's true. But I guess, yeah, that's true. But, when Cougar says the only answer is that we have to stop burning fossil fuels and take the hit. And what was it? The other thing? Oh, Carl Sagan said that survival is the exception. Extinction is the more common thing to happen in species. Is extinction. Survival is this exception. Something like that. Hey Google, what was Carl Sagan's phrase that said that survival is the exception, extinction is the normal?
Carl Sagan's exact phrase is, "Extinction is the rule, survival is the exception."
Survival is extinction is the rule. So that's what we're facing. And, and so then we don't want to do, so that's what happened in Sri Lanka. They rebelled and the farmers weren't getting enough money and the food supply was dwindling. And so they rebelled. Hey, Google, repeat what happened in Sri Lanka when they cut off both the fertilizer and the pesticides, and they went organic gardening.
In 2021, Sri Lanka abruptly banned synthetic fertilizers and pesticides to force a national shift to organic farming. The policy lacked planning, training, or sufficient organic alternatives. Consequently, rice yields dropped over 30% and tea exports, a vital economic pillar, collapsed. The resulting food shortages, soaring prices, and rural economic devastation triggered mass protests, leading to the collapse of the government and the president's resignation in 2022.
Soaring prices. But I mean, the tea, that wasn't like survival, but it was most probably the farmers who were not making enough money really. Hey, Google, would you say it was really the farmers that really instigated the revolts in Sri Lanka over the going organic?
While farmers were the first to face severe hardship, the Ergalaya protest movement was actually a broad, grassroots coalition. It grew significantly when the middle class and diverse urban populations joined, driven by widespread shortages of food, fuel, and medicine.
Food, fuel, and medicine. Hey, Google, why was there a shortage of fuel as well as medicine? We know that the food was affected because they didn't have the fertilizers and the pesticides. But why was the fuel and the medicines also affected?
The fuel and medicine shortages in 2022 were primarily caused by a severe lack of foreign currency reserves. Because Sri Lanka lacked the dollars needed to pay for imports, the government could not purchase essential goods from international suppliers. Since the country imports 80% of its medicines and relies heavily on imported fuel, these supply chains collapsed entirely. This was exacerbated by years of economic mismanagement, tax cuts that drained government revenue, and the impact of the pandemic on tourism, which traditionally provided the foreign currency needed to pay for such essential imports.
Hey, Google, so the issue of the going organic and not importing pesticides and fertilizers was like one part of the problem. Then they were having other economic problems brought on by lack of tourism during COVID and other issues that were making it difficult to buy on the open market the fuel as well as medicine. So those were just it was a compounded crisis. Would you say that's true? That wasn't only about the organic food or the organic farming.
That's exactly right. The organic farming policy was a massive trigger, but it occurred alongside a perfect storm of other failures. Years of heavy external debt, significant tax cuts that drained government revenue, and a sharp decline in tourism, first from the 2019 Easter bombings and then the pandemic, severely depleted the country's foreign currency reserves. When they could no longer afford to import essentials, the sudden drop in agricultural output worsened the crisis, leaving the country unable to pay for fuel or medicine. It was a complete economic collapse fueled by both policy decisions and external shocks.
Mm-hmm. All right, good. Well, anyway, that was one example. So there was multiple. It was a poly crisis, basically. But, we have to plan for more organic fertilizers and providing. Okay, so we do have to plan better to be able to live without fossil fuels. And that's true. That's absolutely true. So, but we're not doing any of that. We have to, planning to, and we have to do it individually too, planning to live without fossil fuels. So like Cougar says, if you need to drive for whatever reason, then you need to get an electric car so you can not be dependent on fossil fuels and those type of things, and electrify your homes so that you can survive. And that was what he said about with Boston, when they're going 50% reduction in their transportation and their by 2030. Hey Google, what is Boston doing in regards to their climate goals? By 2030, they want to be 50% reduction of their fossil fuel use in transportation and buildings, and then net zero by 2050. Can you find out information about Boston?
Boston has officially launched its 2030 Climate Action Plan, which shifts from planning to implementation to reach its targets. The city aims to cut community-wide greenhouse gas emissions by 50% by 2030 and reach carbon neutrality by 2050. The strategy focuses heavily on decarbonising buildings and transportation through measures like energy efficiency upgrades, installing heat pumps, and expanding sustainable transit options. Would you like to know more about the specific metrics they are tracking?
Hey Google, yes.
Boston's 2030 Climate Action Plan, released this past week, shifts the city from planning to implementing strategies to cut greenhouse gas emissions by 50%. The plan targets building decarbonisation through weatherisation and heat pump installations, alongside transportation strategies like expanding public transit and electrifying heavy-duty vehicles. While Boston is currently on track for a 48% reduction, these new measures are designed to hit that 50% goal by 2030.
Heavy duty vehicles. Hey Google, does that mean that Boston is going to electrify their buses, their trucks? What else are they going to be electrifying? Heavy duty vehicles, construction equipment?
Boston is tackling electrification on multiple fronts. For public transit, the state-led goal is for the MBTA to reach a 100% zero-emission bus fleet by 2040. Regarding heavy-duty vehicles and trucks, Massachusetts, and by extension Boston, has adopted the Advanced Clean Trucks ACT rule. This mandates that manufacturers increase the percentage of zero-emission truck sales within the state. For buildings, the new plan focuses on retrofitting properties, including affordable housing, to replace gas appliances with electrical alternatives like heat pumps. While construction equipment electrification is a complex challenge, the city is prioritising building decarbonisation and sustainable transit to reach its 2030 emissions goals.
Hey Google, so that means buses and small trucks, would delivery trucks and all that be required to go electric, and maybe even ambulances?
Massachusetts law requires an increasing percentage of medium and heavy-duty zero-emission vehicle sales. By fiscal year 2030, all new state fleet acquisitions over £14,000 must be zero-emission. This includes buses, trucks, and, where feasible, emergency vehicles like ambulances, as the state transitions its entire public fleet to zero-emission by 2050.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's great. Good. All right. So that's what's happening in Boston. And so Cougar says is like, okay, it's not going to necessarily, save the world that Boston does that, but I say it's also, it can go viral, and it's a proof of concept and that it can work. And so that's good. And then the other thing is, he says those people that have electric will survive, more likely survive. There's no guarantee. Other things could be happening that cause us to be threatened from our global heating and a massive, weather extremes that we're facing. But, having an electric option is giving you more resilience and more sustainability. So that's good. Not much. Water. Okay, that's all I get. Okay, so that was that. Anything else? Talk about my neighbors. I still have not gone out enough to talk to my neighbors about building our village. Oh, that was one thing I did do today. In the Mercury News, our newspaper, I get a digital copy of that, and the Sunday paper. I was looking at it, and on the front page there was an article that said about the marine heat wave. Hey Google, what is the headline on the Sunday Mercury newspaper today that said about the heat wave and that we should be worried? Do you know? Do you remember? Can you find that article from the Mercury News on the front page about the heat wave by Paul Rogers, the environmental writer?
I couldn't find any current Mercury News headlines today about a heat wave by Paul Rogers. Would you like me to check for other recent weather reports instead?
Well, it was on the front page, and it was of the Mercury News Sunday, and it was talking about the marine heat wave, and it was talking about it had a picture of the gray pelicans and the animals that are dying from the heat wave, and then it says, and we should be worried. That was the headline. Do you see that, Google? No.
I couldn't find a report from Paul Rogers in the Mercury News today regarding a heat wave or the impact on pelicans. It's possible the article was published in a different publication or at an earlier time. Would you like me to look for other information about local wildlife or weather conditions?
Hey, Google, no. So anyway, that's what he said. He did say something about worry. It's time to worry. And that was a good headline. And I wrote Paul Rogers, which I've written him before, and just thanked him for, being an environmental journalism and discussing the issues that are, our climate crisis. So
I couldn't find a recent article by Paul Rogers about a heat wave and pelicans in the Mercury News. It's possible that information.
Hey, Google, stop. Yeah. So anyway, so I wrote him just thanking him for having that article and for it to being on the front page. And then I said that, he should check out my husband's YouTube channel, the climate scientist, master biologist that he is. And that basically he, talking about, Hoover is a doomer, and he only talks about global heating. And he goes on, and then also my son, Marshall, who ran for city council and mayor on the platform of the scientist's father that he has, our son. And it was that keep fossil fuels in the ground and make San Jose a food garden again. So I mentioned that. And I said what Cougar says, that we've hit the iceberg and we have to get to the lifeboat. And what the lifeboat is metaphorical for village life. And village life is how we're going to save ourselves. And that's so true in so many ways. First of all, a lot of people are saying that we have to build community. And that's how we're going to save ourselves. And you see that when emergencies happen, it's the community that helps each other, takes the tree off of your, when you're in a hurricane or a tornado, it's the neighbor who comes, finds you. And, when your tree fell on your shelter, and it's not somebody on Facebook or family members that live far away. So anyway, so that was that. And so what was I saying? So I have to go talk to my neighbors, and I was going to bring them a book and knock on their door and say hello. And that's the other problem that we're having, which is our loneliness crisis. So, and then, just reminding people to grow food. So, it's like, okay, it's like, I've told my neighbors, we need to stop driving, and that gets them all mad. And so, but maybe they'll listen to growing food. I don't know. This is something we could do. Us rich lifestyle people that we could be helping. Right. We could help. So, all right. And then we help ourselves. We have it doesn't hurt to do that, and it's better for us. And food is going to be very expensive, and so that would be good for us to start growing food. And right, and then we could all, where all our needs are met by ourselves and our neighbors. That needs to be our mantra. All right, so let's see, what did I do in the garden today besides watering? I watered, and I still got all my seeds organized. I still haven't got them in the ground. Okay, and then my girlfriend came over, Mary, and we put stuff in the compost, and we covered it with leaves and sawdust. So that's good. And my a lot of my plants, I leave them in the garden. They say that they have to stay in the garden to really mature. They have to keep it in the ground to, the seeds really mature and go brown. That's when the seeds have really matured and and are ready to be preserved for next year. So you don't want to eat your whole crop. There's some kind of expression about that, where you don't eat all your seeds, because then you won't have anything for next year. So I had a lot of self-discipline and let my sugar snap peas go dry up on the vine, and I'll collect them, and some of my fava beans, and collect those. I really like grilling my fava beans, and I'll do that tomorrow. I'll grill the whole fava bean on my electric grill. I just put a little bit of oil, even on the pod, and I keep them in the pod, and I just grill the whole thing on the grill. It's really good, with some seasoning and some oil, and just throw them on the grill for a couple of minutes on each side. They're delicious. And then I'll do my eggplant. And what else? Some zucchini. And there was something else. I was thinking there was something else. We did get some sweet potatoes from the farmer's market. I might do those. All right. Well, it's good talking to you. Thank you for being here and listening. All right. You have a good night. See you tomorrow.